office and said, Pastor Tim, I just received this from you. And it was asking for gift cards. And so maybe some of you have already seen, we sent an email out to the entire congregation saying that we'll never ask you for money in this way and so forth. But and they're getting smarter and they're coming more often. And so it's an important topic, and we're grateful for the Oro Valley Police Department and how they protect our community. So without further ado, I welcome Officer Steve Schneider. Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you.
All right. Is this on? Okay. So, first of all, thank you for having me here. Again, my name's Officer Schneider. I'm with the Oro Valley Police Department. I did this presentation. I don't know how many of you have been, here for a while, but I did this presentation two or 3 years ago. I can't remember. It was a while ago. But so some things have been updated in the PowerPoint, but it's going to be some of the same principles that we've talked about before, just the common sense things that we hope you can get from this. We're not going to be able to cover every scam that there is out there because there are a lot of them, and there's new ones coming, being created all the time. So just if you glean the principles here that we're looking for on how to protect yourself, how to be aware of things, cautious of what you receive in the email or the phone calls, then that should help you out with not becoming a victim. A little bit about myself. I am a born and raised Tucsonan. Grew up here. Went off when I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. Came back, and then I got into law enforcement, and I've been doing this about 20 years. I just hit 20 years last year. So, yeah. And I've been with Oro Valley most of that time. I've done everything there is, all the assignments there is to do with Oro Valley Patrol, DUIs, drug enforcement. I was a lead officer, field training officer. I've been on the Pima County Bomb Squad for 8 years, and now I'm in community resources up at Oro Valley. So we handle all of the special events, all the crime prevention stuff, all the public education. Basically, we interface with the community. We deal with the people that want to deal with the police department, as opposed to victims and criminals that don't want to. If they interact with us, it's probably a bad day. But for everybody else, it's with community resources, it's usually a good thing. So we'll get right into it because we're running a little bit behind. I want to be cognizant of your time and get you out of here on time. So somewhere around here, it's going to work. Did I turn off? There we go. Oh, now we're moving. There we go. I think I was pushing up and not down. Maybe that's the problem. So here we go. Why do frauds exist, right? So why are we talking about this today? It is a big industry. There's a lot of money that is being defrauded, stolen from people. In 2024, it was roughly $47 billion with a B from stolen from Americans. And those numbers do climb steadily every year. They go up, a couple $1 billion each year. We estimate that there's $30 billion a year that are being taken from the senior population in the United States. So 30 billion of that 47 is from the senior population. This is just a graph. And by the way, the pamphlets that you got on the back table there, that's just a printout of the presentation. So you don't need to take copious notes. It's all in there. If you want to add something, then go for it. But you don't need to copy down everything because it's right there in the paperwork. So anyways, this just shows that the age ranges of the victims that we see. This is courtesy of the FBI, but that 60 plus population, that is the bulk of people who are defrauded. So it's very important that we get this information to that population, to that demographic, so that you folks aren't exposing yourself to being victims. And what you learn from this today, I hope you tell other people, because I can only reach, there might be 100 people here today, but I can't reach everybody in the town of Oro Valley. But if you tell a few people that if you spread this information, that helps us broaden our reach, okay? So this is by state. Arizona is number 9 on this list. I think it was number 7, so it might be going down. Number 9 in the nation. So, not the highest. Of course, California and Texas are the biggest states. That's probably why they're up there in the top. But you know, Arizona is number 9. So we do have a lot of snowbirds who come here and things like that, retirees. And so I think that's probably why we're in the top 10. And then these are just tactics that are different age ranges. And I think you can see they all kind of have text message, you know, is big in the middle range is there. Robocalls for the 57 plus, and then emails, robocalls, text for 41 to 65. So, but the triggers are different, right? So for the older population, it's going to be the IRS, healthcare, Social Security. That's how they're targeting, you know, the older population, because those are things that you guys are dealing with on, you know, if not a daily basis, a more frequent basis than, let's say, I would. So, being aware of fraud, the chances are that you or somebody you know has been a victim of a scam, right? You probably have received one, or you know somebody who has been a victim of one. So, it's going on. And one of the things that we find is that people don't talk about it because they're embarrassed. They don't want people to know that they got scammed out of money. Well, the fact of the matter is it's happening to a lot of people. People just aren't talking about it. And so, if you learn something, if you get an email or you get a scam in your phone calls or something like that, if you share that with other people, that's going to help hopefully prevent somebody from becoming a victim. So even if you are scammed out of money, don't be embarrassed about it. It happens. It happens to a lot of people, right? Obviously, $47 billion, that's a lot of money from a lot of people. So do not be embarrassed about it. You know, please let other people know, speak out about it, and hopefully that can help prevent somebody else from being a victim. So here's some of the common scams, and we'll go into these in detail a little bit more, but grandson in jail, phone calls to collect a debt, law enforcement arrest warrant, Social Security or Medicare issue, computer virus, grand prize winner. So some of these things come and go. They might be popular for a while, then they'll kind of disappear once people start becoming aware of scams, and then eventually they'll come around and maybe they change format slightly, but it's kind of some of the same things that we see over and over again. So here's one of the big things is email phishing scams. You receive an email that looks like it comes from a legitimate company, right? So it's going to have a logo on the email, it's going to look legitimate. What they basically do is they copy a real one and they change it to look like what they want it to say, but it's going to look like it's legitimate. So it might be from Outlook, from a bank that you use, something like that. It's going to say that there's a problem with your account, whether you know your account's been compromised, your information's been compromised, your identity's been stolen, there was a fraudulent charge on your account, something like that. There's a problem, and they need you to contact them to fix the problem, right? So it's either clicking on an attachment to fix that problem, or it's calling a phone number. Once you click the attachment, malware can be put on your computer, or if you call the phone number, it's going to go to the scammers. It's not the legitimate phone number for that company. It's going to go to the scammers, and then they're going to talk you through how to basically give them your information or give them money. Ultimately, everything comes back to money. That's the reason they're doing these kinds of things. So here's an example, and it's kind of small on the screen there, but if you look really closely, the email address it comes from is misspelled. So on this one it says visa.com, but the O in com is a 0, not an O. So you just want to look for little misspellings in the email, right? A company's email from a legitimate company is not going to have misspelled letters. So that's one thing. You're also going to have a vague greeting, obviously a link in there that they want you to click on. Don't ever click on links in emails because you just don't know who it's coming from. One thing you can do, here's another example from Outlook. And again, this looks like a legitimate email. It probably looks exactly like a real one would look like. The thing is, if you look at the top, at the address it comes from, it says Outlu team with too many E's. So it's just misspelled. There's too many letters. It doesn't look legitimate. And then it wants you to click on the link, that blue link there. here's the thing you can do on your computer is if you just hover the mouse or the cursor over a link, it should usually pop up with what the real link is going to be. They can create those to look like it's going to an address that it's not actually going to. So, and you can also do this for the email sender. So if you see at the top of this one, it says Microsoft Outlook Team. It might just say that, or it might just say a name of somebody you know, like Jim Smith or something like that. But if you hover your cursor over that, don't click on it, but just hover it over it, it usually will pop up right next to it with, this is the email address it's coming from. And it could be somebody completely different. So you just have to be very careful with who is sending you things, who they're coming from, and the links. Is it a legitimate link, or is it going, in this case it's going to an Indian address, right? Why would Outlook have an address in India? They wouldn't. So again, just being very critical of the emails you get. And again, if they're telling you there's a problem with your account, or there's a problem and they need you to fix it, that should be the hugest red flag ever, because that's how they scam people, right? They get you to hyper-focus on, there's a problem, I need to fix it right now. And then you stop thinking critically like you should, and you start worrying, you get tunnel vision of what the problem is. So here's another version of an email scam, and this one is you get an email from somebody that says they're your family member or a friend, somebody you know, an acquaintance. It says there's a problem. Maybe they're having financial issues, or they're having, they're on a trip and they're having problems overseas, or like the pastor was talking about, we want to help. The email apparently came from him. Hey, we want to help somebody out. Please give us gift cards. So they're hoping that you just immediately think, oh, I know this person. It's got to be true because it's coming from somebody I know. And then again, they're going to ask for money, and they're going to want it in the form of electronic payment or gift cards, something like that. Again, red flags. The story doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like something that person would do. There's misspelled words, there's grammar errors, or the email address is suspicious. So here's an example of one. This one is from Christine, I guess. I don't know what the last name is on this one, but this was an email somebody received that I was forwarded. And it says, basically, we're on a trip to the Philippines. It was an impromptu trip. We weren't planning it, so that's why basically explaining why nobody knows about it. We're running into a little bit of trouble. We've lost our passport or our money, our wallet, and now we need a little bit of money from you. And I think they're asking for $2,800. So, this person, whoever received this, might go, oh, I know Christine, and that seems kind of weird that they'd be in the Philippines, but, I want to help them out. I'm going to send them some money. The first thing you should do is go, that doesn't seem right. Let me verify this and make sure that this is actually what it appears to be, what they're sending me. Here's another one, slightly different, but again, it appears to come from somebody the sender knew, or the recipient knew. I was forwarded this by a student in one of our classes, and he said he knew a Ron Gilmore, so he knows the individual it says it comes from. Of course, if you actually look at the email address next to it, that's not Ron Gilmore's email, it's a different one altogether. So he received this email, and there's not a whole lot of information there other than a link that appears to be for some pictures. And what the scammer is hoping that the recipient does is goes, well, I know Ron. He sent me some pictures. Interesting. Let me click on this and see what it is. And then when you click on it, it installs spam and malware on your computer, and then that compromises your information. So again, if you receive an email, be very critical of what, especially if there's links in there, or if they're telling you there's a problem. Look at the email address, see who it's coming from. Here's another one, yeah. Subscription renewal scams. So this one is a little bit newer of a scam, but basically we have a lot of services. I know I do, and you probably do as well, where you pay an annual fee for something, whether it's LifeLock, antivirus on your computer, or whatever it is. There's like an annual fee. Now Microsoft does this thing where you used to be able to go get the software, like Microsoft Office, you would buy it at the store and put it on your computer. Now they do this thing where you've got to renew it every year, which I think is a horrible scam, but that's another one, right? You pay that annual fee. Well, what the scammers do now is they send out an email saying, and again, it has these, it looks legitimate, it looks real, and it says you've either been charged or you're going to be charged for this service. If there's a problem with that, please call this number and we'll fix it. And obviously, you know, you see this email that says you've been charged $300. You're like, I don't have that service. I don't have LifeLock or whatever it is. Or it shouldn't be due now because I just paid it 2 months ago. So there's a problem, right? You're concerned about it. You call the phone number. Well, then the scammers are going to have you basically give them personal information, or they're going to say, you know what, give us your credit card number and we'll credit the amount back to you. Well, then they've got your credit card number and they'll charge, you know, money off of that. So the point of that one is, and here's an example of what it looks like. This is one from Norton. And again, it looks legitimate. They've just copied and pasted a real one and changed some stuff on there, put their phone number on there, and they're hoping that whoever is receiving this email is, well, I don't owe that money. I'm going to call them and get my money back. And then what they do is they get your financial information and they, you know, scam you even more, or scam you in the first place. So what I'm going to tell you for any of these is if you get an email from a company and they tell you to call them, there's a problem with your account, always look up the number, the customer service number on your own. Do not use the numbers or the email addresses or any of that stuff that you see in these emails, because they're obviously giving you a phone number that goes to them. So if you call, they're going to answer the phone. Yeah, this is Norton. How can I help you? And then you say, I don't, you know, and they're gonna lead you on because they have scripts. They do this all the time. They're professionals. This is their job. Their job is to scam people. So you're calling these call centers, and this is what they do all day, 365 days a year. They scam people. So they're pretty good at it. So never call the phone number or click on links or follow web addresses that you see in these emails, because that's what the scammer wants you to do. Go online, Google search, or go into your paperwork and find, if it's a credit card issue, go on the back of your credit card and look at the phone number for that. Call the number, verify it yourself, and then call the number. And I guarantee if you call them and say, I just got this email that I owe this money, they're going to be like, no, that's a scam. Don't worry about it. So, another thing is multi-factor authentication. So one of the ways that banks and other companies have been, trying to strengthen their security is coming up with these ways to verify who you are. So a lot of times now, if you try to log onto an account, it'll say, we're sending you a code, a text message code, or we're sending you an email, and you'll get that text message or you get that email, and then you type it in, and then it lets you into the system. So that's multi-factor or two-factor authentication. So that was done obviously to try to stop scammers from being good at what they do, but then what do scammers do? They figure out ways around that. So what has happened in the past is you'll get a phone call from somebody and they'll say, hey, we're with Bank of America Fraud Protection. We've just noticed some problems with your account, some suspicious activity. We'd like to verify if you made these charges or not. I'm going to send you a code right now via text message. Could you please read it back to me so I can verify who you are? Well, what they're really doing is they're logging into your bank account, and then when it gets to that point where it sends the code to you, that's when they're asking for the code. So if you give them the code, they now type it in and they get into your bank account. So never ever give anybody a multi-factor authentication code on the phone. They're never going to ask for it. I do this presentation with a lady from, it's BMO Bank now, it used to be Bank of the West, but BMO up in Sun City. And she says the banks will never ask you for personal information or for authentication code. We never will. If we're going to call you, we might say there's an issue with your account. Could you come into the bank to talk to us about it? But if they're calling you, they know who you are. They're not going to ask for all this information. Now, if you call them, they might ask for some information to verify who you are because they don't know who you are. You're calling them. But if they're calling you, they'll never ask for this stuff. So again, if you ever get a multi-factor authentication pop up on your phone and then somebody calls you saying, hey, can you give it to us? That's a scammer. There's no reason they should be doing that. Tech support scams. So you're on your computer doing whatever it may be, and you get this big pop-up on the screen, and it says, it's flashing red, and it says, your computer's been hacked. There's viruses on your computer. Don't do anything. Don't unplug the computer. Call this phone number, and we'll help you through it. Those are probably a scam too. Not to say you wouldn't have something pop up saying there was a problem, but 90% of the time it's a scam. And I'll give you an example here on the next slide. So again, they're going to just say there's a problem with your computer. They need remote access to fix your device. Once they get remote access, they can get in there and start putting stuff on your computer or copying all your personal information off the computer. I've even heard of one where they said they took it financial because they said to this lady that your financial accounts have been compromised. We need you to move. We need you to move your money from your bank account over to this account that we have to secure it. And she did it. She lost $25,000 because she fell for it. So don't ever give remote access to your computer. Yes?
Just shutting it off doesn't do it because there's still some power coming in. Unplug it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what you should do. And I think, yeah, it's on the bottom there in the bold. Immediately shut off the computer and disconnect it from the internet. So if you disconnect it, if you pull the plug from the wall, it's not going to do any damage to your computer.
Right.
What I would suggest at that point to do is maybe take it to a repair shop or something like that, a computer repair shop, and have them scan it, make sure there's nothing on there.
But my experience has been that if you completely unplug it,
Mm-hmm.
if you wait 30 seconds, plug it back in, it's all gone.
Okay. I don't know enough about computers, but
if you just turn it off,
yeah, reboot the computer, disconnect it from the internet, and reboot it. Yeah, that might work. I mean, it's up to you what you feel comfortable with doing. If it was me, I'd probably have somebody check it out just to make sure that there wasn't some malware or something. Now, if you have a service on your computer like Norton or one of these antivirus softwares that you pay for, and it can scan your computer and go, yeah, there's nothing on there, then I would be fine with that too. But you just want to make sure that you're not just being oblivious to it and going, well, that was weird, because they could have put anything on your computer. So here's an example of what it looks like, right? Warning, big red sign, and it says your computer is infected. Please call this phone number. Again, that phone number is for the scammer. It's not for the actual antivirus company. And then here's a different one from Windows. This is a more current one that I got off the internet. So it might look like this. Again, this says, let's see, threat detected, Trojan spyware, access to the PC has been blocked. Please contact Windows support. Well, that's not the phone number for Windows support. That's a scammer. Okay, utility company scams. So you might receive a phone call or an email saying, hey, this is Tucson Electric Power, or whatever company it is, utility company. There's a problem with your account. We didn't get your last payment. We're going to shut off your service in 30 minutes. Well, obviously you're a little concerned about your power getting shut off, and so you want to take care of it right away. And they're hoping again that you're going to get that tunnel vision. You're not going to realize, well, that doesn't make sense. I just paid the bill, or my bills are on auto payment. I know I shouldn't be past due because it's always taken care of. So, and again, they're going to demand payment with gift cards, prepaid cards, wire transfers, things like that. What legitimate company is going to call you and say, go get some gift cards from the store and give us the phone numbers? They're not going to, right? But they're hoping that by that point you're so concerned with your power getting shut off that all that other stuff doesn't make sense, and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to do it because I'd rather not get my power shut off. So again, we want you to stop and think about it. We want you to look up the customer service phone number, call the company, or go online, log into your account online and go, oh no, right here it says I'm current, because it's probably going to be a scam. Yeah. Social Security or Medicare scams. So scammers might call and say, excuse me, they're with Medicare or Social Security. Again, there's a problem. Your account's been compromised. Your identity's been stolen. We need to verify your information to take corrective action. And then they'll start asking you, personal information and stuff like that. Social Security or Medicare might call you. I'm not of that age to really know, but if they do call you, they're probably not going to start asking you a bunch of information. They might just say, hey, you know what, we've had a problem. We need you to come in one of the offices and deal with it, or we need you to send, whatever it may be, but they're not going to ask you a bunch of personal information. I think most of their communication is done by mail anyways. So I don't think if you get a call from somebody starting to ask a bunch of personal information, I might hang up with them and then try to find out, verify that that's actually true. Arrest warrant scams. So this one was going around for a while. I don't think it's big right now, but people receive phone calls from somebody saying that they're with a law enforcement agency, and they say, we've got a warrant out for your arrest. We're going to come get you. We need you to take care of this warrant. And again, they're going to ask for payment via gift cards, prepaid cards, things like that. First of all, no police department is going to call you and say you have a warrant, we need you to pay over the phone, right? We generally don't call people and tell them they have a warrant. Sometimes we have officers go out and find the people, but we usually don't tell them ahead of time that we're looking for them. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's just something in my throat. But so, anyways, if you get a phone call from somebody, and they're very good at this, right? They make this sound legitimate. They'll even go to the point of looking up the police department or sheriff's department, finding somebody that works there, and then using that name. So, you might initially go like, well, Lieutenant, Johnson. Well, let me look up real quick on the computer while I'm on the phone, and then that pops up and say, yeah, that's a real person. You might be duped into thinking that's a legitimate phone call. So, again, police departments are not going to call you. Sheriff's departments are not going to call you asking for you to pay because you have a warrant. So, go on to the next one here. Charitable organizations. This is one that you might receive. This one, the caveat here is that there are actual legitimate, charity organizations that call and ask for donations. So just because you get one, don't immediately assume it's a scam. What I'll say is, if you get a phone call, verify who you're getting the phone call from, and if you don't feel comfortable, giving your information over the phone, it's completely fine to say, hey, I'd like to give a donation, but not over the phone. Do you folks take, do you have a website or do you have an online method to do this? Most organizations nowadays, like the ones listed up there, you can make donations. If you go onto their website, if you Google Red Cross and you go on there, they'll probably have a place on there to make an online donation. You can make an electronic donation. So just because somebody's trying to get money from you doesn't mean you need to give it to them over the phone right there. You can verify who they are and then go online and do that. If they start to pressure you at any point, it's a scam, right? Salvation Army is not going to call you and say, we'd like to get a donation. If you say, I'm not comfortable doing it on the phone, and then they start saying, well, what, you don't want to support people? You're stingy? You don't want to, they're not going to say that. So if you start getting pressured or guilted into it, it's probably a scammer. We've noticed a lot of times, and I've done it myself, where if you get a scam phone call and you start giving them a little bit of pushback, they'll get upset because you're wasting their time because they want to move on to the next victim. So if anybody calls you saying they're with a company and they start getting upset, they're probably a scammer. Romance scams. So this one may or may not apply, but if they're out there now and they use social media, they use dating websites, and they'll create false profiles, right? They'll create fake accounts, and they'll put fake pictures on there, and they'll make it look nice and pretty, like they're such a great person. And then they'll start a relationship with people, with potential victims, and they'll say, hey, just talking about normal stuff. But then they'll say, can we, it's so hard to talk on this app. Can we just text back and forth? It'll be a lot easier if we just text message. And then they'll take it off from that, whatever platform that is, whatever dating website, and they'll go on to just text message and stuff like that. After a while, after building the relationship, they'll say, And usually part of their story is I live out of state, or I live out of country, or I'm traveling for work, or I'm in the military. That's why they're not, around. And they'll avoid meeting you, and they'll avoid doing any sort of video chat, because obviously they're saying they're one person. They're really not. They're somebody else altogether. Anyways, they'll build trust, and then they'll get to the point of saying, hey, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this. Can you help me out with some money? I'll pay you back, things like that. Well, what they'll do is they'll get a little bit of money from you, and then they'll keep going and keep going and keep going until, at that point you're already hooked, and you're already committed to, buying the story that they've given you. So just be very cautious if you ever are meeting somebody online and, starting that relationship, and you get those red flags of they never want to meet in person, and they always have a story of why they're out of town, and they don't want to do video chat. That's a big one. Nowadays, everybody has an iPhone or a phone. You can do FaceTime, you can do video chat. Like, if they're not doing that at all, that should be a big red flag of why are they not wanting me to see their face? And again, if somebody's asking for money, make sure you know who they are before you start sending money to somebody. So here's some of the red flags that we'll go over. We're kind of done with the scams portion of it. We'll just go over the individual scams. But the red flags are caller or email says that there's a problem, right? That's the first thing they're going to say is there's a problem with your account. There's a problem with your identity being stolen. We need to fix it. Then they might ask you for personal information, right? So can you give us your name, your date of birth, what's your social security number, what's your best friend's name, what's the first car you ever owned, what's your childhood friend, things like that are those security questions that you put into email address or websites. Or they ask you for a multi-factor authentication. They say, well, we want to verify who you are. Here's a code we're sending you. They're not going to do that if they're legitimate. And then the last thing is they're going to ask you for payment, right? They want that money. Again, untraceable ways to get money from you. Gift cards, prepaid cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency. That's a big one now, is the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. And some people don't know necessarily what that is, but it's basically money, right? It's made up money, but you transfer real money into it. You buy the Bitcoin, and then you send the Bitcoin electronically to this person. And so they've actually got Bitcoin machines, if you will, at different locations around town now, where you can, buy Bitcoin or send Bitcoin to people. And again, it's cryptocurrency. It's not actual tangible currency, but it's still money. They can still use it as money. So your information is valuable. So these are just some pointers of protect your information, protect your identity. Make sure you have, if you have documents with names, email addresses, names, addresses, account information, things like that. Make sure you're either shredding it yourself or you're taking it to one of our shred events. We do 2 shred events with the town per year. One is usually in the spring, one is usually in the fall. I think the spring event might be in like April or May. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. Let me just look here. No, it's not on my calendar yet. So it's probably going to be in the springtime, maybe like April or May. I think the town is looking at doing it. So if you just pay attention to the town's social media and website, they'll usually post it on there when they're going to do it. But we'll take as many boxes as you can bring of documents, and we'll shred them on site. And there's no cost for that. So for the ladies, if you're in a grocery store, please do not put your purse in the shopping cart and walk away from it. Somebody can walk by and just grab your wallet out of there, or the whole purse, and then you won't even notice it until you get to the register that, hey, my wallet's missing. So if you're going to put it in the cart, either make sure you have eyes on it, or put it down lower in the cart, put the jacket over it or something like that, so it's a little more difficult for somebody to steal it. And then for vehicles, don't leave your purses in your cars. We get a lot of car break-ins in parking lots where people have left valuables in the car in plain sight. Please just hide valuable items so it's not a temptation to anybody. Credit scores. So as of 2024, they extended free credit reports to weekly. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can check weekly your credit history and make sure there's not any fraudulent accounts on there or your information hasn't been compromised. You can also freeze your credit history if you want to do that. If you're not planning on making any big purchases, you can call the 3 different bureaus, or I believe one of them, and all 3 will get frozen. But you can freeze your information so that nobody can open any accounts. It just means you have to go through some additional steps to unfreeze it if you want to make any large purchases like cars or homes. So if you're not planning on making any purchases, it's an extra step of security you can do. All right. Anybody calls you asking for money, that should be a big red flag. Please stop, check out who they are, and then do not wire money or buy gift cards if somebody asks you to. So, government officials might call you in some situations. They're never going to threaten you. They're not going to generally ask for personal information. They're not going to, your social security number cannot be suspended. They're not going to demand payment by cash, gift card, or wire transfer. That's just not what they're going to do. If you stay current on your accounts, if you know when your bills have gone out, you're less likely to be a victim. If you get a phone call from somebody saying, hey, you didn't pay your utility bill this month, and you're like, no, I know for a fact I just sent it last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it is, you're not going to fall for it, right? You're going to know what's going on with your account. So know your stuff, and then if in doubt, call the legitimate phone number. I can't emphasize that enough. Don't call the phone number. Don't click on the link in the email. Look it up on your own. Take the time to look it up and verify the phone number, and then call that customer service. So here's some examples of things, and then we'll finish up here. If somebody contacts you and says they're from your electric company, they've already asked to verify your name, and they tell you there's a past due on your balance on your account, you need to pay it immediately or they're going to shut off your service in 30 minutes, right? Then they want you to go to the store and buy gift cards. Does that seem legitimate, or is it a scam? Scam? All right, scam, you passed. Next one. While using your computer, you get a pop-up on the screen that says you have a virus and gives you a number to call for tech support. The person there says that you've been hacked and they need to gain remote access to your device. They also want you to secure your money by sending it to a different account. Does that seem legitimate? No? Scam? Okay. Third one. Somebody calls you asking for a donation for a charity. It sounds like a group you've heard of. You want to help them. You ask if there's a way to make a donation securely, via online, whatever. And they say, yes, that's fine. They're cordial. They're friendly to you. You then go online. You're able to find the website. Does that seem like a scam, or? Could be, but I'm going to say no scam, because I mean, they didn't give you a hassle, they didn't give you any problems, and they let you go online, look it up yourself, things like that. So, last one. Somebody contacts you and says they're from a fraud protection with your bank. There's a problem with your account again. They need to verify some information. They say they send you a multi-factor authentication code on your text message. They want that number. They say if you do not provide this information, you will suffer irreparable damage. Does that seem like a scam? Okay, that's a scam. So, question we sometimes get is, when do I report to the police, right? So, I'm going to tell you right now, there are thousands of scammers out there. They're all overseas. They're all in Nigeria or India. A lot of them are in India. They have these call centers, and that's all they do all day is they send out emails, they make phone calls all day, and if they make 100 phone calls a day and they get one person to give them $20,000, that's a good day for them. They've been successful, right? So everybody's receiving emails all the time, a lot of phone calls, and my phone rings constantly. I probably get 10 scam phone calls a day that my phone just automatically doesn't answer, but it's happening all the time. So the point is, us as law enforcement, we're not going to be able to follow up on every email, every lead that we get. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time in the day. So what we're asking you to do is, if you get a scam email, just be aware of it. Just put it in your spam box, delete it. Don't worry about it. If you actually lose money, so you know, for whatever reason you send money to one of these scammers and then you realize, oh, that was a scam, I shouldn't have done that. We then want to know, right? So we want to know if we can get that money back or if we can try to prevent that from happening to somebody else in the future. A lot of times if you call your bank and you say, hey, I was just defrauded on my credit card, they're going to ask you to file a police report anyways, or at least they're going to ask if you did file one. So you might as well call us and file a police report. These suspects, these fraudsters, they're, like I said, they're operating overseas. They will create email addresses, they'll create phone numbers that appear on your phone. You know, you'll look at your phone and go, oh, that's a local area code. It's not really a local area code. They can create whatever number they want. So just because you're getting a phone number from somebody, and I'll be honest with you, they can create a phone number, they can type it in so that when it comes up on your phone, it says Oro Valley Police Department. So you'll get a phone call and it'll look like it's Oro Valley Police Department. You know, it might not be. So just be aware of when you're getting a phone call. Just because you see a number on there, that doesn't mean that's the number it's coming from. They're probably coming from overseas, and they're just creating it to look like it's a local number, so you'll be more trusting of that. So we can't really follow up on a lot of these overseas scammers, right? They're outside of the law, outside of the reach of the U.S. law enforcement. So there's not a whole lot that can be done. So we really only need to know if you've lost money or if you have actual suspect information. So sometimes they might say like, hey, mail this, you know, buy this thing and mail this package to this address in the U.S. Well, then we might be able to do something with it. Usually what that is they have different drop houses, if you will. They have somebody at that house that they're paying, and all they tell that person is, hey, you're going to get a package, just forward it to this mailing address. And that's that person's job, is just take packages, relabel them, and send them off to the next place. And so it'll go through a couple different places before it gets to the actual fraudster at the end. So anyways, if you lose money, if you have an actual suspect information, then we might be able to do something with that. So that's where we end the PowerPoint. Like I said, I can't cover all of the scams that are out there, but if you just realize, again, I just reiterate, if somebody's calling you saying there's a problem, if they say they want personal information and they want you to send them money, and the money is probably going to be asked for in the form of a gift card, prepaid card, you know, Amazon cards, whatever it may be, that's not legitimate, right? That's a scam. If you ever get an email from somebody or a phone call from somebody asking, you know, for money, stop, verify who it is, check with somebody else, right? If you get a phone call and they say, hey, Grandma, it's, you know, Tony, and you're like, well, I do have a grandson. I haven't talked to him in several years. Maybe this is him. I don't know. His voice sounds a little different. Maybe he went through puberty. I don't know. But I'm not sure if this is him or not, but he says he's in trouble and he needs some money, so I want to help him out. Well, maybe hang up the phone and call, you know, his mom or a different family member and say, hey, is Tony okay? Like, just verify. Do a little extra digging to make sure it's actually who it says it is. One thing I'll touch on, because somebody asked me about AI, right? Artificial intelligence. It is changing a lot of things, right? Because you can now get phone calls that sound exactly like somebody you know. You can get video. They can send you video that looks like it's somebody. They can create whatever they want to create. And so they're able to even confuse you even more of thinking, well, this is actually who it says it is. But we go back to the principles, right? If somebody's calling you and they're asking for money, they're saying there's a problem, verify who they are before you start sending money to somebody or giving them information. What you can do is if you get a phone call from somebody in that particular instance where they say, hey, it's, you know, you're somebody you know or a family member, if you start asking them details that only that person would know, well, hey, where did we go for your birthday 2 years ago? Well, if it's a scammer, they're not going to know that information. They'll probably get upset and hang up on you. So those are just some little things you can do to try to get around, you know, them trying to dupe you. Yes?
Has AI progressed so that if they engage us in a conversation, they're recording our voice and the words that we say, like yes and things like that?
They could.
Yes or yes.
Yeah, a lot of that. I haven't gotten that one in a while, but that was going around for a while where you get the phone call and it says, can you hear me? And then you say yes, and then it like hangs up on you. I don't know what the purpose of that one was, but Yeah, they can do any, I mean, of course they can record your voice and use it, yeah.
So it's better not to talk.
So, thank you for mentioning that. If you get a phone call from a number you don't know, it is perfectly fine. And this is something that I have to tell the older population, that you're not being rude. Please don't feel like you need to be kind to people on the phone. If you don't know who it is, you don't even need to answer the phone. Like, don't consider it rude. Like, well, I want to answer the phone because I don't want to be rude and not answer the phone. If it's somebody you know, they will leave a voice message. You can call them back. So if you get a phone call from a number you don't recognize, I don't even answer the phone unless it's somebody I recognize. If it's important enough, they'll text me or they'll leave a voice message and I can call them back. So, but that's one thing that I've heard from people. I was like, well, I was talking to the person on the phone and they sounded like a scammer, but I didn't want to be rude. Hang up the phone. Like, you don't need to be polite to scammers. So, but yeah, don't feel like you need to even answer the phone if you don't recognize the number. Yeah. I saw it.
Remotely stealing the chip from your credit card. Is that a real possibility or not?
I think that it's technologically possible to do it. It's not a big thing that we see. The most we see with credit cards is the skimmers that they put on like gas station machines, because they can just throw something on there that looks legitimate. So all I can tell you on that one is if you see something that doesn't look like a normal credit card scanner, then don't use it. Go to a different machine and alert somebody to that. Maybe the police department or something. We can check it out. But yeah, I haven't heard of I know there's the little sleeves you can put your card in so that it doesn't steal it. I know it's technologically possible. I just don't think that it's done very much. There's a lot easier ways for them to steal money from people, yeah. Yes, I got a lot of hands. I'll get to all of you. Yes.
The multi-faction, when they send you
The code, yeah.
give you these numbers. I've done that, but only when I've initiated the call, and they want to make sure who I am.
Yeah,
So
that's possible, yeah. If you call them and they want to verify who you are, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'd only be concerned about it, I think, if it was the other way around. Somebody was calling you and saying, give us the code. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you address theft of property, your deed?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that question comes up. We have not seen that in Oro Valley. And I don't think it's been seen very much in Arizona. I think other states it's been an issue. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but we just haven't seen that here.
Well, the Pinal County Recorder, you can go on their website, and if anyone wants to transfer, they'll send you an email.
I think Pima County might do that as well. I think I might have heard that Pima County will do that as well. So if you contact the Pima County, who handles recorder? Yeah, the recorder's office. If you call them, there's something they can do where they will basically alert you if there's an issue with somebody's trying to transfer your thing or something like that. So
They can't stop it, but they'll let you know.
they'll let you know, yeah, and hopefully you can stop it.
It's very easy. They can do a fraudulent deed transfer and use the notary stamp, file it with the recorder. The recorder doesn't check their accuracy.
Yeah.
Then they can sell your property to somebody else. And then it's a real thing.
Yep. We haven't seen it, so it's not, I know it happens in other places, but we've been fortunate not to see it here, so. Yes, more questions. Yes, sir.
Regarding email,
Mm-hmm.
the volume of information and focus on the political parties are just putting out a ton of information, and 90% of the time they're asking for donations.
Yep.
And how do you sort through that to say which is real and which is not?
I'd be very cautious because there's probably a little more difficult to figure out which one of those are legitimate or not, because there's probably a lot of different PACs and things like that are out there. So, you might not know which ones are legit or not. What I would say is if you believe in a candidate or a cause, go to, do a search on your own, find their website, find their phone number for them that you can verify is the legitimate one, and then call them and handle it that way.
The ones I look at are coming nationally, and they'll say, I'm the
Yeah. Right, yeah, anybody could say anything, yeah. Yep, I mean, you just gotta be real cautious with what you're receiving. Yes?
In your experience, can you detect whether it's a landline scam or cell phone scam?
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I mean, for me, no. There is a way. So, like our detectives, I mean, I did this when I was doing drug enforcement. Is you have to contact the provider. Well, there's a system that you go into. You type in the phone number. It tells you who the provider is for that phone number, and then if you contact them, they'll tell you if it's a landline or a. You have to do a little bit of digging. It's not just like. I mean, I think if you do a Google search, it might come up if that's a cell phone too. So there. Yeah, you could do it that way as well. Yes?
Another thing, you just mentioned, I was looking to renew my passport. If you go online for passports, one of the first two items that come up are service quote companies that will take care of your passport. I don't know if they're legitimate or not. I didn't use them. Go down a little further, you will get into the United States services.
Yeah.
Provide that. That's another point that people have to be careful. When you go online looking at things, you lead yourself into.
Oh yeah. So he's saying he's talking about passports and trying to renew a passport. But what he brought up was if you go online and you do a Google search for passports or something like that, probably the first couple of returns you see are going to be advertisements or paid results. So just because you see it pop up at the top and it looks legitimate, don't assume it is. Usually it'll say like sponsored or advertised, and then if you go down a couple, then you'll have like the legitimate one. So yeah, just make sure that you're going to the passport website or something like that. It's the actual legitimate one. It's not some company, third-party company that's trying to scam you out of money. So, any more hands?
One more for
Yes.
on voting, there's a big wave coming out that says, do not use your vote unless you're there personally, you can't mail it in and so forth. Where do we stand on that?
I mean, now you're getting into the political realm, and how much we trust our record, the voting system, the mail-in voting system. But I mean, if you have a doubt at all that your vote's not going to be counted, or if it's going to be thrown away in the trash or something like that, yeah, I would suggest going and voting in person just to make sure that you're actually submitting a ballot and you know that it was submitted into the box. I can't speak to whether we've had. I mean, I know as much as you do, watching the news and stuff like that of ballots being found in places. So, anyways, if you have a doubt, go mail in person so that you don't have that chance of it getting lost in the mail. Yes.
I pay $1 a month for a call blocker. That's all I pay. And if you're not in my contact list, you will go directly to voicemail. Do it. $1 a month. It saves me those 10 phone calls.
What company is that?
I have AT&T, but I had it with Verizon.
Okay.
And it is fabulous. Second thing, if you live in Saddlebrook, you have a phenomenal computer helper at Mesa Bytes. They will come to your house. I live in Oro Valley, so I go once a year and have my computer scanned to make sure that, it's absolutely clean. They don't come out to Oro Valley, but if you're in Saddlebrook, they will come to you. And it's called Mesa, M-E-Z-Z-A, Bytes, B-Y-T-E-S.
She said if there's anybody who lives in Saddlebrook, there's a company called Mesa Bytes that will come scan your computer,
Fix anything.
fix any problems with your computer. So is it free or is it?
No,
You got to pay. Okay.
They're trustworthy and
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah, we used to have a good place up in Sun City that was Rhino. Yeah, and I guess they've gone mobile now. You call them, they come to your house. But I had them do some work on my computer one time, and I was happy with it. So, yeah. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Any examples of being contacted via the U.S. mail and disguising themselves as the IRS?
I haven't heard of that. again, that's not to say it couldn't happen. If you get anything, whether it's an email, a phone call, or in this case, hard mail, again, verify who it is and what it says. You know, my wife gets irritated at me because I throw so much stuff away I get in the mail. But like, I get this stuff and immediately looking at it, I'm like, that's junk, that's junk, that's junk. And she's like, no, it says official on there. It says time limit or something like that, time sensitive. And I'm like, no, it's junk. They put that on there to make it look like it's legitimate. So yeah, if you get something in the mail from the IRS and you think they're telling you there's a problem, they need you to contact them. Again, look up the legitimate phone number and call them. I don't know how long you'll be on hold, but yeah. Yes, sir.
The problem with throwing it out indiscriminately, I get a lot of, like from AAA, it's a life insurance form, but they partially filled out the application form.
Oh,
And so right away, somebody could grab that out of your trash and apply for life insurance in your name or whatever.
yeah,
Or a credit card solicitation.
Yeah.
You should shred it.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
We pay for Apple Care.
Apple Care.
If you have problems with your computer and you call, they want to have remote access.
That's different in that you called them, right? You contacted them and they need remote. I mean, same thing happens to me for the town. If I've got a problem with my computer, I call IT and they say, well, we're going to need remote access. You're going to see it pop up on your screen, and then they're in. So if again, just like we were saying before, if you call them, they might need to verify who you are. They might need remote access, things like that. But if somebody is calling you, you don't know who they are. You know, you haven't verified who they are. You haven't called any phone numbers. So it's a little different. You just got to make sure that distinction of, is it them calling you or you calling them? Anybody else? Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Let's thank Officer
Snyder,
Schneider
yeah.
again for all of this information.
Thank you. And I was going to tell you on the back table there, if you got there was a Crime Fighter newsletter. That's the one that we send out every 2 months now, every other month. If you go on the last page, there's a QR code or there's a web link you can go to get that. It's sent out electronically usually. I just print them out for events like this so people can actually see them, but they go out via email every other month. So.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Very much for this.
Thank you.